It all began with a whisper. A whisper that started in Flagstaff and spread like wildfire among Sister Wives fans. Secrets can ruin a family, they say, but when the secret is packaged in land deeds, financial transactions, and hushed phone calls, it doesn't only ruin, it explodes. For years, Janelle was portrayed as the reserved, logical, peacekeeping wife in Kody Brown's life. The one who juggled budgets, coordinated family logistics, and attempted to keep polygamy chaos at bay. But beneath that serene smile and equanimous tone, something was smoldering. Recently, eagle-eyed viewers caught a trend. Janelle was traveling solo. No Kody, no Robyn, no cameras. She and a folder stuck under her arm. And where were those travels? They weren't to the grocery store or some harmless errand. They were to a title office. Then came the receipts. A blurry image leaked online. A document bearing Janelle's signature, and a legal description that caused shockwaves to ripple through the fan base. It wasn't a property just anywhere. It was land adjacent to Coyote Pass, but solely registered in Janelle's name. Were this true? This was a seismic betrayal in the Brown family. You see, Coyote Pass is not merely earth and trees. It's the fantasy, the battleground, and the largest financial gamble the family ever took collectively. Kody has held onto it like a lifeline, telling anyone who will hear that this land holds the future of his family. And now, a rumor is circulating that one part of it may have been snatched away from him. The rumors grow louder. Friends who are close to the family reportedly overhear angry phone arguments between Kody and Janelle, her tone firm, his tone trembling with anger. He says she is sneaking around behind his back. She says he is leaving her with no other options. And then there is the bombshell. A confidential source says it has actually seen the documents, signed, notarized, and on file, just days prior to a big family gathering regarding Coyote Pass. If that's the case, Janelle apparently didn't just make a business decision. She did it in secret, realizing full well how incendiary it would be. And that's where this gets even more ugly. Others say Christine was in the know, and might even have encouraged her. Still, others suggest Mary heard rumors about the deal but kept it to herself, either afraid of Kody or eager to watch it all fall apart in secret. And Robyn? According to sources, she's fuming, going around telling everyone that Janelle betrayed the family code. The drama boils over when Kody allegedly bursts into a family party and goes off on Janelle in front of the whole crew. "You went behind my back," he shouts. "You had no choice," she retorts. What did she mean by that? Exactly. Was this a last-ditch attempt to gain freedom? Or has Janelle been playing a master game all along? Viewers are now going back and watching reruns, searching through every discussion about Coyote Pass for subtle clues. Did Janelle drop a hint that nobody picked up on then? Did she realize all along that Kody's idea was never going to fly, and begin planning her exit years ago? Here's the thing. This isn't simply a battle over property. This is about control, about trust, and about who actually gets to call the shots on what's left of the Brown family. If Janelle does actually own that piece of land now, she is the ultimate player. And if she chooses to sell, or build, or hold it all for herself, there's nothing Kody can do about it. Which raises the question, was this a smart move for her own future, or a betrayal so deep that the family will never recover? We're about to break down every detail, the leaked documents, the timeline of events, the suspicious meetings, and the family's explosive reactions, to find out if Janelle really pulled off the boldest move in Sister Wives history, or if this is all just another straw in Kody's tangled falling down dynasty. Because in a family where trust is already teetering on life support, one secret arrangement could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. At first glance, everything was normal. In more recent seasons of Sister Wives, Janelle continued to don her usual composed look, the one that audiences had grown to recognize as her defense mechanism within the fray of Kody's emotional whirl. She would sit in confessionals, answer in measured speech, and attempt to rationalize the family's actions without throwing anyone under the bus. But if you were paying attention, the clues were there. Small things: when her smile would falter, when her eyes would fall for an extra fraction of a second, when her voice took on a note of something harder. The truth is, Janelle has always been a strategist. While Christine fought battles head-on, Janelle preferred to quietly plan her moves in the background. She knew that in a polygamist family, especially one in the public eye, you couldn't just act out of pure emotion. Every choice had to be calculated. And in this case, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Coyote Pass, the Brown family's dream, and curse Coyote Pass, wasn't real estate. It was to be the Browns' legacy. The site where their large family would finally put down roots, after years of bouncing from state to state. A location where each of the wives had her own house, but still belonged to that same cohesive community. It sounded perfect on paper. In practice, it was a fiscal nightmare. The land had been bought in bits, different portions under various names, held together by a threadbare tapestry of trust and mutual obligation. The idea was to pay it off in the end, subdivide it, and construct houses for all. But plans take unity, and cooperation was scarce by the time the Browns arrived in Flagstaff. Kody dreamt big, but didn't get far. The wives each had priorities, their own budgets, and their own undercurrents of resentment. And as the years passed, the vision of Coyote Pass appeared to recede further into the distance. The first clues something was off fans began to pick up on small changes in Janelle's demeanor around the time Christine departed from the family. During the season after Christine's departure, Janelle was more candidly critical of Kody, not in a screaming, over-the-top manner, but in her own direct, cutting way. She started questioning him on camera about his financial choices. She expressed irritation at having to pay off Coyote Pass when there was no actual plan to begin construction. And more than once, she intimated that she needed to consider her own future, apart from the family dream. Then there were the off-camera sightings. Some of the locals in Flagstaff said they had spotted Janelle at some legal and real estate offices, alone without the camera crew, and sometimes with an oversized binder. At first, it didn't look like much. Janelle is used to being self-sufficient and running her own errands. But when those sightings increased and coincided with certain quiet weeks on the sister wives' filming schedule, viewers started to speculate. Money talks, and so do the records. Property deals have one thing going for them: they create a paper trail. Before long, internet sleuths, the die-hard sister wives enthusiasts, who more or less live in public record databases, began digging. And what they uncovered was telling. Although none of the specifics were certain, there were suggestions of activity linked to parcels of land around, and possibly associated with Coyote Pass. The names weren't always precise, sometimes spelled differently, sometimes attached to entities as opposed to single individuals. But the breadcrumbs directed in an interesting place. A single leaked screenshot of a county record revealed a filing date that coincided precisely with one of Janelle's reported title office visits. The record was partially redacted, but her name remained legible enough to prompt shockwaves in fan circles. Was Janelle buying land for herself? If so, was it independent of the family, or a discrete retable of the very land that Kody had been fixated on? The Christine connection. This is where things get interesting. When Christine exited Kody, she didn't merely leave emotionally, she ensured she had a concrete, financial clean break. She sold her Coyote Pass share back to Kody, accepted the payment, and started afresh in Utah. Janelle endorsed Christine's choice at the time, both publicly and privately. The two were close, appearing frequently together on social media and at family gatherings with their children. But some fans now wonder if Christine gave Janelle more than merely emotional support. Perhaps she also gave her strategy. Christine demonstrated it could be done to unwind yourself from the web of joint properties and emerge with something tangible. And Janelle, observing the family drama escalate, perhaps determined it was time to start making her own exit strategy. Kody's blind spot. The thing about Kody is that he underestimates the quiet ones. He's used to battling with Christine, or dealing with Mary's cold withdrawal. Janelle's calm nature made her seem like the loyal, steady partner who would never make a drastic move without his blessing. That assumption may have been his biggest mistake. By focusing so much on keeping Robyn happy and defending his own authority, Kody may have failed to notice that Janelle had been slowly, methodically positioning herself for independence. The family meeting that changed everything there was a seminal family meeting regarding Coyote Pass, just weeks prior to the leaked document. one insider says. It was to talk about paying off the outstanding balance and settling how the land was to be divided. In accord with the source, Kody arrived with his standard vision, one great big family compound, and he at its center. Robyn nodded along behind him. Mary held her peace for the most part. And Janelle, she listened, nodded, and inquired into some practicalities regarding timing and funding. But what everyone missed was that a few days prior, she had purportedly signed documents that could reverse everything. If that's the case, it means she entered that meeting knowing she already had her own piece of the deal in hand. The rumor mill explodes. When the speculation surrounding Janelle's deal went viral on social media, people had varying reactions. Some applauded her for finally placing herself first after years of being left on the sidelines. Others attacked her for betraying the family collective dream. Typical sister wives behavior. Speculation only created more digging. Individuals started going back and searching old interviews for when Janelle might have so much as intimated dissatisfaction with the Coyote Pass scheme. Others weighed her recent financial decisions, such as purchasing an RV and residing on the property, as potential steps toward ultimate autonomy. Why this matters more than money? Yes, the land is worth something. And yes, it's attached to the family's largest financial undertaking. But this is about so much more than dollars and acres. If Janelle really did go behind his back, it's a slap in the face of Kody's authority. Decades he's had the final word in significant family matters, or so he's thought. It would be proof that power is being taken away from him, wife by wife. And unlike Christine, who walked out cold, Janelle could still be living with the family with this ace in her pocket, which means she'll have bargaining power with each and every conversation from here on out. The morning sun shines through the high windows of the courthouse, but nothing about the day is warm. The air is charged with tension, the kind that presses against your chest, which makes it difficult to breathe. Christine sits at the plaintiff's table, her fingers splayed on a tidy stack of papers, each sheet a fragment of the mosaic she's been constructing for months. Her jaw is clenched, her lips pressed into a line, but her eyes, those unfaltering, resolute eyes, are telling another tale. They are the eyes of one who knows the truth is hers to hold. Opposite her, Kody sits tense, his arms crossed in defense. There is a flash of rebelliousness in his eyes, but from time to time, his eyes flick towards the door, as if hoping someone will come in and rescue him from what lies ahead. Robyn sits next to him, bending down to whisper, her face a blend of fear and working-class coping. She has played her part today, dutiful wife, quietly in her corner, yet even she can't cover over the tension in her body. The bailiff calls out the judge's arrival, and the room changes in an instant. Everyone rises, the sound of chairs scraping against tile floor ringing out in the silence. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with eyes that sharply gauge and cut, sits down. Her mere presence commands silence. She scans the courtroom, measuring the faces before her like a chess master examines the board. Christine's attorney leads off, his voice firm but filled with the gravity of the situation. He starts to lay out the case, not mere real estate, but a complicated mess of shattered promises, secret deals, and dubious transfers. He points at the papers Christine has in her hand, each one more significant than the last. Kody's attorney stands up in rebuttal, presenting a very different picture. He positions Kody as the victim, the man who has put time, money, and trust into Coyote Pass only to see it used against him. The language is refined, scripted, but below the surface is a cuttingness, a veiled hostility directed squarely at Christine. Christine's eyes remain fixed ahead, not wanting to offer Kody the reward of a reaction, but her mind is reeling in there. She recalls the nights they stood side by side on that property, envisioning what they would create. She recalls how those dreams began to warp, the way the promises changed, the way her voice was increasingly muffled by his dominance. The judge listens attentively, sometimes taking notes. Her expression says nothing, but the subtle narrowing of her eyes at Kody's lawyer's mention of shared family investment is not lost on Christine's team. Then comes the moment everyone's been waiting for. Christine takes the stand. The room seems to hold its breath as she walks to the witness chair. She swears in, her voice clear and firm. The questioning begins gently enough, guiding her through the timeline, when the land was purchased, how the payments were made, Who signed which documents? But as the questions dig deeper, the tension thickens. Christine's attorney shows an email, one Kody wrote to the family group string years earlier, summarizing his strategy for splitting the property. It has a clear paragraph that is contrary to the story Kody's been propagating. Christine observes Kody's response from the side of her eye. His jaw clenches, and he leans across to his attorney, speaking in a low voice. When it's his turn to speak, his tone changes. He claims Christine is twisting reality, taking things out of context. He says the email was just an idea, and that the actual agreements were verbal agreements, agreements that conveniently no one else appeared to have heard. The judge breaks in briefly, to clarify some of the points with Kody. The queries are blunt with little scope for prevarication. Kody's assurance trembles for an instant, and during that interval, there is a silent flash of hope on Christine's face. As morning progresses, more is presented in evidence: receipts, bank statements, even a grainy old video recording of a family meeting at which Kody himself explained how the land would be divided. The recording is brief, but the audio is unmistakable. Kody's voice, announcing that Christine would be entitled to full rights over a particular area, booms loud and clear in court. Robyn fidgets restlessly in her seat, her hands folded tightly together, until her knuckles whiten. The clip comes to an end, and the silence afterwards is oppressive. Kody's attorney attempts to downplay the video as being out of context, but the harm is done. The jury, if not technically in a court of law, then certainly in a court of opinion, has just witnessed a crack in Kody's alibi. Christine keeps her cool, her responses steadfast. But stepping down from the witness stand, she senses this is not going anywhere anytime soon. Kody is not a man to give up, and the flames of defiance flare in his eyes as he glares at her as she takes a seat. Saying it all, the judge adjourns, and the courtroom gradually returns to life with a murmur of voices. Even in the corridor outside, though the strain pursues them like a specter, Christine sits down in a corner, her attorney hovering beside her to comfort her. "That was good," he murmurs. "Better than good." She nods, but her brain's already racing ahead to what's next. There's still more testimony to go through, more evidence to introduce, and she knows Kody will return fire. She hears Kody's voice somewhere down the corridor, tense, smooth, with barely leashed fury. Robyn's attempting to talk him down, but Christine can hear from his tone that he's already thinking about how he's going to retaliate. And beneath it all, she knows this battle is no longer just about the land. It's about the years of domination, the unspoken grievances, and the struggle for the truth that has been fermenting for far too long. When they're back in the courtroom, everything will be different. The lines have been drawn, the stakes have been set, and there's no going back. The courtroom is even more oppressive after recess, as if the walls have taken in the morning tension and are now bearing down on all of us. Christine enters first, her feet slow, head high. Kody enters later, his stride clipped, nearly aggressive, as if each step must re-establish his presence. Robyn follows close behind him, her face drawn, her eyes scanning the room for a glimmer of sympathy. The judge enters, and the new round of testimony gets underway. Christine's attorney doesn't lose any time. He produces a surprise witness, a witness neither Kody nor his attorneys anticipated. It's Janelle. The instant she appears in the room, a wave of murmurs fills the auditorium. She proceeds to the stand with the subdued determination of a woman who's kept her mouth shut for too long. Oathed in, Janelle sits rigid and unmoving, but gazing intently at Kody. When Christine's attorney starts questioning her, it is apparent she has been preparing for this moment. She describes years-old conversations, intimate family chat regarding Coyote Pass, what each would pay, whose portion they would own. Her words slice through the air like a knife, sharp and descriptive. When questioned about payments, Janelle hesitates not at all. "I paid mine. Christine paid hers. Kody was supposed to pay his, but Robyn's house and bills always took priority." She let the words hang for a moment, her eyes still locked on Kody's. Kody's attorney interrupts, protesting the tone, the wording, anything that could blunt the effect. But the judge sustains, and Janelle goes on. And she paints with each word a more detailed picture of fiscal mismanagement and changing priorities. Kody is clearly shaken now. His hand drums furiously on the table, an unmistakable indicator of his anxiety. When it is finally his attorney's turn to cross-examine Janelle, the questions arrive fire and brimstone style, designed to discredit her. But Janelle remains composed, responding to each one without hesitation. Then there is the moment no one saw coming. Christine's attorney pulls out a huge printed chart, bold and clear enough for even the back of the room to see. On it are the timelines of payments, donations, and real estate transactions, color-coded, with an egregious omission in Kody's column during the precise time frame. Christine observes Kody's expression as the chart is revealed. His lips compress, his eyes slit, but he remains silent. The silence itself is an admission. Robyn moves next to him, bending forward to whisper something, but the judge demands silence before they can say more than a few words. The chart remains up for a few minutes, allowing everyone present to take it in. Then the defense summons Robyn to testify. Her attitude shifts the instant she is sworn in, gentle, restrained, and compassionate. She describes Kody as a man trying his best in an untenable position, as a father and husband attempting to keep multiple homes together in the public eye. She maintains the financial holdups were temporary, due to unexpected events, that all of Kody's actions were done for the benefit of the family. Christine listens intently, her eyes tracing every nuance of expression on Robyn's face. She is aware of how persuasive Robyn can be when she is master of her own story. But cross-examination is at hand, and Christine's attorney does not hesitate to accuse her of contradicting herself on the stand. Robyn's voice breaks slightly, as she attempts to account for discrepancies, but the attorney pushes further, yielding a chain of text messages, her own words about Coyote Pass payments, and acknowledging they were on hold due to Robyn's house priority. A silence descends over the room. The messages appear on a screen, the black and white text impossible to ignore. Robyn tries to swallow hard, her eyes darting to Kody for reassurance, but his face is inscrutable now. The judge leans forward a little, her eyes on Robyn as she responds to the last questions. There is no tantrum, no emotional breakdown, but the burden of the testimony has changed. The story Kody and Robyn have been keeping all this while now has cracks that can be seen. When the day's proceedings are finished, Christine exits the courtroom without turning around. The waiting media throng around both sides, cameras flashing, microphones shoved forward. Kody forces his way through without comment, Robyn following close behind, their faces stern. Christine stands still though. She doesn't make a statement, but she lets the cameras take photos of her calm, steady face, a silent assurance that she's not going away. Inside, the war is far from won, but at this moment, she senses the tide has begun to shift. The truth, bit by bit, is fighting its way to the top, and Kody cannot do anything to prevent it. The next morning, the courthouse hums with a tense, almost crackling energy. Yesterday's bombshell testimony, Janelle's disclosures, the payment chart, and Robyn's leaked text messages, has spread like wildfire. The gallery is still more crowded today, with journalists pushing and shoving for space and onlookers whispering angrily in anticipation of the judge calling the room to order. Kody enters first, more poised than yesterday, but there's a stiffness to his gait, a conscious imitation of control. Robyn comes next, her face scrupulously neutral, though the faint redness about her eyes says that she didn't sleep. Christine comes last, her entry as peaceful as it is unshakable, as if she has a secret that everyone else doesn't yet. Christine's attorney stands promptly as proceedings start. Without prelude, he produces an envelope, sealed and labeled an official court document. The judge permits it to be opened, and the attorney delivers its contents to the clerk. In a moment, big print photographs are put on the evidence screen. They're bank statements. Not any statements. These are from accounts in Kody's name, with large amount transfers occurring at the very time when Coyote Pass payments were allegedly on hold. Where these transfers went: to a contractor remodeling Robyn's home, to an out-of-state vacation rental property, and most incriminating, a private investment account in Kody's control only. The room bursts into whispers. The judge attempts to call the room to order, but the effect is palpable. Christine remains still, allowing the evidence to speak on its own. Kody's jaw clenches, but he still does not break his gaze towards the judge. Christine's attorney starts reading out the figures in a steady but acerbic tone. 38,000 for property improvement, 22,000 for a high-end rental, 15,000 to a private investment account. Each number hits like a punch, drawing the air taut inside the room. Robyn squirms in her chair, looking at Kody, then back at the table. When the attorney turns to address her, inquiring if she was aware of these dealings, she pauses for a fraction of a second too long. "I don't remember the details," she replies softly. That moment of hesitation is all the opposing attorney needs. He rolls in a series of emails. Emails from Robyn, about the work being done and thanking the contractor in person for hurrying the work. Her signature is there. Dates in perfect synchrony with the suspect transfers. Robyn's voice shakes, as she maintains it was family money, and for the household. But the cross-examination is unrelenting. The attorney probes, which household? The Coyote Pass one that was never constructed, or yours? The audience gasps openly at the pointed question, and the judge must issue another admonishment to keep things in line. Kody finally speaks, directly objecting to the judge, accusing Christine's team of misrepresenting facts and misquoting him. But rather than the firm tone that he's used to, his voice has a hint of desperation. The judge, unmoved, reminds him to address the court through his lawyer. The punchline occurs when Christine's attorney plays a brief soundbite, something no one outside of Christine's camp seemed to be aware existed. In it, Kody is heard speaking during a family meeting months prior to when Christine left. His tone is measured but direct. "Coyote Pass can wait. Robyn's house first. That's just reality." The clip fades to black, and the courtroom is filled with silence. Kody sits forward, unseeing before him, unblinking toward Christine, unblinking toward Robyn, and certainly unblinking toward the crowd. The judge pauses for a long time before declaring that the evidence given will be thoroughly examined and can affect property division rulings. When the court breaks for the day, the air outside is tense. Reporters shout questions. Questions about the bank records, about the tape, about whether Kody and Robyn will take the stand again. Kody pushes through them, her face a stone. Robyn trails behind, head down. Christine, however, does not hurry. She strides purposefully toward the door, reporters yelling her name, cameras documenting every step. She doesn't have to say anything. The day's evidence has already said it all. In the mob somewhere, a voice cries out, "Christine, are you winning?" She doesn't look back, but the smallest smile appears on her lips. And for those who really look, that is the answer. The last day of testimony gets underway. Under the weight, the anticipation, of silence. In the streets outside the courthouse, the crowd is its biggest yet. Camera operators move down the sidewalks. Reporters grasp microphones. Curious passers-by tilt their heads to see the three key players in this dramatic courtroom drama. Within, the atmosphere is electric. Kody stands at the defense table, his shoulders back, but his face ashen, as if the weight of the last few days has finally come home to him. Robyn stands beside him, her eyes jumping nervously toward the doors, with every person who enters. Christine walks across the room, her head held high, accompanied by her legal team. The quiet resolve she's had all week appears more defined now, as if she's anticipating the coup de grace. The judge brings the hearing into session, and Christine's lawyer doesn't delay. He rises, clutching a thin leather-bound booklet. "Your Honor," he starts. "This is the last piece of evidence that we feel will clarify the actual fiscal management of the Coyote Pass money." The court clerk confiscates the folder, and in no time its contents are displayed for all to see. Two notarized affidavits from ex-family accountants, each explaining how Coyote Pass had been drained and redirected on purpose, not to construction and shared costs, but to pay off debts and purchases with no connection other than to Kody and Robyn. Kody leans forward in his chair, talking in a whisper to his lawyer. Robyn's hands are clenched on the edge of the table, white-knuckled. The allegations are explosive in their specificity. Exact dates, amounts transferred, and even emails within the company between Kody and one of the accountants about framing the withdrawals in case of a query from Christine or Janelle. The courtroom is so silent, you can hear the sound of a reporter's pen scribbling. Christine's attorney pauses to let the words hang in the air. Then, with precision, he calls his final witness, the accountant herself. The woman takes the stand, her voice steady as she recounts the conversations she had with Kody. He told me point blank, she says. Christine doesn't need to know the specifics. We'll tell her it's for taxes or permits. Kody's expression grows stern, but the words hit home like rocks. The jury, if not physically here in this family courtroom, then in the minds of the spectators observing, is convinced. When Kody's lawyer cross-examines, he attempts to poke holes in the accountant's memory, but she stands firm. I have the emails, she says flatly. They're admitted into evidence without protest. Then the time that no one anticipated. Robyn of her own accord asks to make a personal statement. The judge pauses, then gives permission. She slowly stands, her voice shaking. I never wanted it to come to this, she says, looking over toward Christine but not quite looking at her. I felt we were all doing what was best for the family. But I can't refute what's in those papers, and I can't deny what I did know. Gasps spread through the courtroom. Robyn is basically verifying the crux of Christine's argument. Kody's head whips around, his face a mask of disbelief. Robyn, he growls curtly, but she continues. I figured that remaining silent would maintain peace, but all it did was break trust. And now here we are. Her voice breaks, and she sits down again, looking at the table. Kody says nothing for the remainder of the hearing. The judge gives closing arguments with a seriousness that causes everyone in the room to sit up straighter. No ruling is made today, but he lets everyone know that the evidence will carry significant weight in the final judgment. He compliments Christine's team on their excellent presentation and promises that deliberate hiding of marital assets will not be tolerated in his courtroom. When the gavel drops, the room doesn't explode like it's done before. Instead, there's shocked, wide-eyed silence. Christine stands up, giving a minute nod to her attorney, and steps out into the sunshine. The crowd moves forward, calling out her name, asking if she feels vindicated. She doesn't quite reply, merely says, "The truth always finds a way." Kody and Robyn leave in different directions. He maintains a low profile, ducking the cameras. She follows behind him several paces, the earlier admission casting a shadow over them that neither can avoid. Headlines burst across all the leading entertainment platforms during the night. Robyn breaks silence, admits knowledge of Coyote Pass funds, Christine's courtroom victory in sight. Kody silent as case turns against him. And for fans of the sister wives scandal for years, it feels like something greater than just a court case concluding. It feels like the culmination of a story years in the making.